What if you could fly across the country for the price of a pizza? For years, Spirit Airlines made that promise. They were the pioneers of the ultra-low-cost airline, the rebels who said, why pay for things you don't need? They stripped away every comfort, packed in more seats than anyone else, and charged for everything from water to a boarding pass. Their bet was simple. People will endure almost anything for a cheap ticket. And for a while, it worked. But in the high-stakes, low-margin world of aviation, that bet turned out to be a fatal one. This is the story of Spirit Airlines, the airline that went bankrupt not once, but twice in less than a year, and how its collapse signals the end of an era for cheap travel. To understand Spirit's failure, you have to understand the ultra-low-cost carrier, ULCC, model they championed. It's a business philosophy built on one core idea: unbundling. Traditional airlines bundle everything into one price: your seat, your bags, your snacks. Spirit unbundled it all. Your ticket only bought you a spot on the plane. Everything else was extra. This allowed them to advertise shockingly low fares, luring in customers who were focused on the initial price tag. Their planes were configured with the maximum number of seats allowed by law, with less legroom than any other US airline. Their profit margins were razor thin, relying on high volume and those extra fees to make money. For years, this model seemed to work. Spirit grew rapidly, adding new routes and planes, but they were playing a dangerous game. The business with almost no profit margin has no room for error. The first crack appeared in November 2024. After years of mounting losses and rising costs, Spirit filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. The final nail in the coffin was a federal judge blocking their planned merger with Frontier Airlines, another low-cost carrier. The judge argued that combining the two would hurt consumers by reducing competition. Ironically, the decision designed to protect consumers ended up killing one of the biggest low-cost players. Spirit tried to restructure. They promised to cut costs, streamline operations, and find a path back to profitability. But the fundamental problems remained. Their costs for fuel, labor, and maintenance were rising, but their ultra-low fares couldn't keep up. They were trapped. Then, in August 2025, the unthinkable happened. Spirit Airlines filed for bankruptcy for the second time in less than 10 months. This was unprecedented in the modern airline industry. It was a clear signal that the ULCC model, as Spirit practiced it, was fundamentally broken. So why did the ultra-low-cost experiment fail so spectacularly for Spirit? The CEO of United Airlines, Scott Kirby, put it bluntly: the consumer has voted and it has failed. Customers were tired of being nickel and dimed. They were tired of the cramped seats, the terrible service, and the feeling that they were being tricked by hidden fees. While the initial low fare was attractive, the final cost was often comparable to other airlines that offered a much better experience. Furthermore, the razor-thin margins that defined the ULCC model became its undoing. When operational costs went up, Spirit had no cushion. They couldn't raise fares without abandoning their core identity, but they couldn't absorb the rising costs either. They were stuck in a death spiral. What can we learn from the airline that went bankrupt twice? 1. Margin is everything. A business with almost no margin is fragile. Spirit's model left no room for unexpected events, rising costs, or market shifts. Lesson 1. A race to the bottom is a race you might win, but you'll be at the bottom. 2. Customer experience is a feature. Spirit bet that customers would trade all comfort for a low price. They were wrong. Customers are willing to pay for a decent experience. Lesson 2. You can't treat your customers like cargo. 3. Don't get trapped by your own model. Spirit's identity was so tied to being the cheapest that they couldn't adapt when the market changed. Lesson 3. A rigid business model is a brittle one. 4. Debt is a killer. High debt combined with low margins is a recipe for disaster. Spirit's debt load made it impossible to weather the storm. Lesson 4. Growth funded by debt is not real growth if there's no profit. 5. The middle is a dangerous place. Spirit tried to carve out a niche at the absolute bottom of the market, but they ended up being crushed between legacy carriers offering better value and their own unsustainable costs. Lesson 5. If your only selling point is price, you have no selling point. Spirit Airlines is still flying, for now, operating under its second bankruptcy. But its story is a cautionary tale for any business that thinks the only thing that matters is being the cheapest. The fall of Spirit Airlines may just be the beginning of the end for the ultra-low-cost dream. The consumer has voted, and the verdict is in.